Furthermore, there are now developing alternatives to stem cell research which do not destroy human life. Did you hear what I said? Ever since this debate began, new developments have occurred. There are new alternatives to stem cell research which do not take human life. Shouldn't we be investing money in these instead of buying into the radical culture of death? Aren't we heading into the brave new world, such as the one described by Aldous Huxley, in which human beings are decanted instead of being born, where the most dirty word was viviparous reproduction? Read your Brave New World all over again. Now, if you care to argue this with me, the phone number is 1-800-449-8255. You're listening to the most powerful talk radio show in the world. It is the Savage Nation. And I'm going to repeat that to you. This may not be the largest show, but it is the most powerful show in terms of the kinds of people who listen to the show, whether they fall on the left or the right side of the spectrum or right along the middle. The fact is, most of the people who choose to take time out of their day to listen to me pontificate and give you my opinions are people who think for themselves. And I invite you to think for yourself by dialing 1-800-449-8255. I want to go to the fundamental point of today, which is that hag from Colorado, some congresswoman, had the nerve to say that the legislature has no right to tell scientists what to do. Well, that is utter rubbish. Mengele was a Nazi scientist, and he was doing what he wanted to do, which was taking human beings and conducting experiments on living human beings. Now, certainly there are scientists who are evil. Remember Dr. Death, the man who was terminating life? Now, he was doing what he thought was best. I forget his name already. Beowulf, do you recall his name? He's away in Kevorkian. Kevorkian was a scientist. He was a doctor, and he was taking human life. Well, it took the legislature to stop him from taking human life, because there are scientists who are insane or evil, just as there are any other crazy people in any profession. So let's not put scientists on a pedestal. Those days are long over. The days of Albert Schweitzer and the days of that type are long gone. What you have today is something entirely different. So we do need to control scientists, and we do need checks and balances in science as well as we do in the government. And that's why I say to you, it's utter rubbish to listen to this crap, that we don't need to tell scientists what to do. I've heard this before. This comes right out of the protocols of the abortion racketeers. They are the ones behind stem cell research. They are the people who put Obama in office along with many others, and they are the reason you must understand what is going on. Again, if you care to discuss this, the phone number is 1-800-449-8255. I am taking calls from in the attempt to do good. They did very bad indeed. Is that what you're saying?
Dr. Mengele, exactly. And
well, you heard me talk about Dr. Mengele. He was arguing that he wasn't doing it to torture children. He wasn't doing these things to the children, like dipping them in ice to see how long they could stay alive until they finally died, when their hearts stopped. He wasn't subjecting them to radical heat while they were living, young little children, 3, 4 years old, to see how long they could live in an oven until they finally exploded and died. He was doing that in order to see how long a human being could live in a desert. Isn't that true?
Absolutely, and it's all.
He was trying to see how long the Wehrmacht could survive in the desert. He was trying to see how long the Arctic soldiers, the noble Arctic Nazi soldier, could survive in the Arctic environment. And in order to do that, he needed human guinea pigs. And what the heck is another Jewish child? So what you're saying is the stem cell research argument connects directly to these vile Nazi experiments.
Exactly. It's the same.
Thank you. Moreover, you can get cells from other human tissue. It no longer has to come from embryonic tissue. That's the important thing for you to understand is this. It's not either or. You can have all of the scientific research along this line that you wish without sacrificing embryos, because you can derive these cells from skin cells, for example. This was not true a few years ago. Now, the whole reason the left is pushing this is because the abortion racket is behind it. Do you understand this? Michelle in Michigan seems to understand it. Go ahead, please. Michelle, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to, and I completely agree with you from working on the adult side. It is about what do you want the cells to do, and if you want the cells to, you can't create an organ outside the body yet. So, if you want the cells to repair and build substrates that can build between one neuron, another neuron, a branch, so that the neurons can crawl across, and help out the spinal cord injuries, like the last caller, then the adult stem cells can do that. And they
hold on. You are a cell researcher?
I'm on the adult side. I work for a company.
Well, when you say adult side, what do you mean? Adult cell research?
Adult stem cell research.
God bless you, because you're a godsend for me and millions of people listening to the Savage Nation. My good lady, please explain what an adult stem cell is and where it is derived from.
So the adult stem cells, first of all, most so commonly they're derived from bone marrow. They're also from cord blood, peripheral blood, fat stem cells, which have just recently come across, and the skin stem cells. But basically every tissue part in the body has resident stem cells, and resident stem cells can regenerate any tissue that is part of that or tissue of origin.
So, Michelle, we no longer need embryonic stem cells?
I think the question is what you want the embryonic stem cells to do.
Why do they argue that, of course, we know that adult stem cells can be used to create lines, but we must have embryonic stem cells because they are superior? Is that true or false?
I think that's false.
Why do you think that's false?
Because the route that I've seen the embryonic stem cells take right now, embryonic stem cells, and they've shown it in animal studies, if you take pure embryonic stem cells right out of culture and you haven't differentiated them, they're in their undifferentiated state. And they're also, the embryonic stem cells come from in vitro fertilization clinics.
Right.
They're less than 5 days old. So you take them, just the embryonic stem cells, the round spheres, and you put them into animals, they form teratomas. So they become cancerous. So what they have to do is they have to so they keep them in this undifferentiated state so that they can grow up lots and lots of them, and so they can treat lots and lots of different people. That's the idea of it.
But wait, hold a minute, Michelle. You're fundamentally trained in what? What is your field of learning?
Engineering.
What, bioengineering?
Yeah.
So you trained in bioengineering, but are you a cell scientist? Would you say?
Oh, I've always gone on the cell side.
All right. So you're a brilliant young lady who knows this field inside and out. Do you have a political bias in this discussion?
I have a, personal religious bias, but politically, no, I'm...
All right, so you are a scientist, but you're also a person who believes in the sacredness of human life. I hear that. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, and so they're not incompatible?
No.
But you made the most important point of the day. I said it in a generic fashion earlier. For the last 42 minutes, I've been trying to make that point, which is that I am for scientific advancement, but I'm also cognizant of what happens when you start to deny the human element here. You start to look away from the human cost of scientific research, and you wind up with Mengele playing with human life. Isn't that fundamentally what you believe?
Yeah.
Okay. Michelle, I want to keep you on the show for a few minutes. Just tell the people what you mean by you're a cell researcher. Tell young people listening to the show what that means.
So what I'm trying to do is bring cell therapy, adult stem cell therapy, and make a difference in everyone's lives. And, we're looking at cardiac, vascular, saving limbs, and also, and eventually neural when we...
Okay, but again, for the average listener who doesn't have any scientific background, you're on the same wavelength as those doing stem cell research, meaning cells from embryos. Only you're saying you can derive these stem cells from adult cells rather than from embryos. Isn't that all you're saying?
Well, better yet, from your own cells.